Time to go ahead and check the money. Time for the Money Master. The director of financial newsletters at Newsmax.com, Jeff Yastine, joins us. We start out with our check on Wall Street, Jeff, and as I see it, we're still kind of floating a little bit today, right? A couple of points here and there, a couple of points there.
Yeah, it's a good analogy, floating after yesterday's big down day and then somewhat dramatic recovery. Today we have the Dow down about 13 points, the S&P 500 up 4 points, NASDAQ up about 11 points. So, like you said, kind of an inside day is what they would call it on the charts.
All right, now a couple of things that are going on in news. The news about home box office and how they're going to change cable. You're now going to be able to get basically your programming without cable TV. I got an email from a friend of mine in the cable industry who's been there for a long time. He says, Ed, yes, believe me, there are people at some of the major cable operators right now who are not too thrilled about this. But it's a smart move by HBO, isn't it? Because you're going to where the people are watching the programming these days, and it's basically on your computer and your smartphone.
Yeah, it's just a recognition that people want that venue. They've been pursuing it. Netflix, until now, has had that kind of a marketplace all to itself. And HBO is recognizing that the tide is changing. As wedded as they are, or have been at least, to the cable industry for all these 30-something years since HBO got its start. And it's interesting? I saw something just a few minutes ago. CBS is also announcing that they too are now going to have all their programming available through the internet, which is something new for them as well. So it's just a recognition of a spot that Netflix has had this staked out for, obviously, for a long time now.
And Netflix is interesting because I remember it wasn't too long ago when people thought they were dead in the water. I mean, they were having a terrible time. Then all of a sudden they rebounded. Now they're down 25%. They managed a little bit of a late rally here. But that 25% for Netflix they're down, that doesn't have to do with HBO. That's tied to their earnings projections, correct?
Correct. They had earnings come out that were disappointing compared to what I think analysts in the Wall Street community expected. But I think also there may be sort of that anticipation. Stocks move off in anticipation, then sell off afterwards. And I think in some ways the HBO and CBS announcements today kind of play into that. Netflix has had the space to itself. Now there are other competitors coming in, and that may also be reflected in the downturn in Netflix today, which ultimately probably isn't that big of a deal.
All right, let's talk about what's happening in Detroit right now. The city made a deal with the last holdout creditor. It looks like finally Detroit may get out of bankruptcy, but boy, they got a long way to go to rebuild that city.
They do, but I think that once they clear this final hurdle, which they're doing now, I think things are going to look up very quickly for Detroit. Again, it's one of those things where now all the other stuff has been cleared out of the way. Bankruptcy's out of the way. What's also interesting is that Federal Guarantee, the company that was this last holdout on the bankruptcy deal, they're going to get to redevelop what's now the Joe Louis Arena with a hotel, condos, and a retail complex. So give 5-10 years from now, it's quite possible that downtown Detroit will look quite different and feel quite different than what it is now.
It has to, because as one who has been in downtown Detroit, they need to look and feel a whole lot differently from what they are. Trust me, even the people in Detroit will tell you that one. September industrial output up 1%. Okay, good news, yes, or?
No, it's all good news. The other thing was they had weekly jobless claims went to a 14-year low. It shows you how quickly the interpretations of data can change. When you add today's data in with the fact that we have these very low oil prices and gasoline prices, you can make a very good case that you should actually be very bullish here instead of the bearish tones that we've seen the last few weeks.
All right, and finally, Google setting to test some ultra-fast wireless. It could be beamed into your house. I'm all for it, please. Anything that gets that internet speed up, I'm happy, and that would take the cable out of the mix, too. It's interesting technology.
It would, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Netflix and HBO. It's all moving towards getting that pipe, as big a pipe as you can for bandwidth into people's homes.
And there's nothing bigger than the sky, but then, of course, every time the rain and the thunderstorms and the snowstorms come around, there goes Netflix. As long as it as long as it doesn't happen during House of Cards, I'm okay. If that's good, I'm all right. Are you a fan, by the way, of House of Cards?
Of House of Cards,
yes.
Of course. I
Thank
love
you.
that. We binge watch it.
See? Oh, I can't get to that point yet. It's way too much. I got to take it in small doses and then move on another day. We'll move on for today. We'll come back and check Wall Street on Friday. Jeff Yastine, thanks so much, buddy.
Thanks,
All right,
Ed.
check with Jeff also. Don't forget, Newsmax.com. After the break, as America pounds away with bombs in Syria, there's how you get a hold of Jeff right there. The enemy may be a little bit smarter every single day. That and so much more coming up right here as we continue the Friday Eve edition of Midpoint.